Today, we're learning English in the Royal Botanic Gardens in Sydney, Australia. Join me and learn English as I explore amazing nature in the middle of Sydney. Find the best view of popular landmarks and even meet some Australian birds. Use this video to help train your ears to listen to the Australian accent. We'll also catch some key English words at the top. See how many you know. Try to listen the first time without subtitles, but if you do need some help, enable CC. Getting to the Royal Botanic Gardens is very easy. Today, I started at Martin Place metro station. So you can catch the metro, which is kind of like a subway from many different places around Sydney. And then from Martin Place station, we exit to the right, and then we simply walk straight. So keep walking all the way until you get to the end of the street, and you will see the State Library of New South Wales. From here, turn left. After walking for a few minutes, you will come to the front entrance of the New South Wales State Library. Also very beautiful. You should visit this. But we're actually going to go across the street, and the Royal Botanic Garden is right there. The entrance just over there. That's where we just came from, the entrance to the New South Wales State Library. And then I crossed the road or crossed the street. And now I'm going to enter the Royal Botanic Garden just behind me over here. What is the Royal Botanic Garden? Well, it's a big, beautiful garden right in the middle of Sydney City. And as you saw, it's a very short walk to get here, only about 5 minutes from the closest metro station. One of the exciting things is that when we explore more soon, we will get down to the harbour and have a beautiful view of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. We will also see many unique plants and trees. Even right here at the entrance, this tree is hundreds of years old. So there is a lot of history and nature in this garden. Of course, it's a garden, so you can guess that you're going to see many beautiful plants and flowers, some that are locally Australian and some from other places around the world. So there is a lot of beautiful nature to see here. This is somewhere that's free to enter. So if you're exploring Sydney and you need something to do, you can just come here at no cost. So it's a really great thing to do to enjoy some peaceful time while you're traveling and see some local things in Sydney. There is a cafe in here, and I think sometimes there are some areas that you pay a donation. You pay a donation to go in and see some special areas, but most of the park is completely free. You can even bring your own lunch and just sit on the beautiful green grass here. It's a very soft, beautiful green grass. You can sit there and enjoy some lunch. It's a very peaceful place in the city. This is the cafe. I think it's closed now, but let's take a look around. It looks like the cafe is open. There's some people enjoying a coffee or a drink or some tea, and maybe a gift shop and some other things around here too in the garden. I just realized from here you can see Sydney Tower above the gardens here. There's proof of how close to the middle of the city this garden is. It's a very famous tower in Sydney. It's iconic. That's an iconic tower in Sydney. The Royal Botanic Garden is very large, so if you're not sure what to see in here, there are a lot of these signs that tell you different stops and different areas around the garden. So for example, if you want to follow the Australian Rainforest must-see tour, you can follow these signs and specifically see the Australian rainforest. There's a magpie, an Australian magpie just sitting there. Maybe it's hunting for some food. It's standing very still. It's alive, it's right there. I'm gonna leave him alone and go away. There is a lot of sunshine here in the park. Actually, right now I'm wearing a light coat or a thin coat because today it was a little bit cold, about 16 degrees Celsius, but because of the strong sun, I'm starting to get a little bit hot, so I might take this off. There's another very impressive tree at the end of this park. It's really tall and it's on an angle. It's not straight, it's on an angle and it's huge. It's so tall. I really love this tree. Look at this over here. This is based off or made to look like an Australian animal called an echidna. An echidna. An echidna is an animal that has a long nose and it has spikes on its back. So they made this plant look like a giant echidna. That's so cool. There's even little ants that they made all around the edge. There were some people in the park there having a picnic. They had a blanket and their lunch and they sat on the grass and ate their lunch. What a beautiful way to spend a day in Sydney. There's actually a few cafes in here. I think I said there is a cafe, but there are at least two, maybe more, I'm not sure, but there's another one just down over this way. So let's go check that out real quick. I also need to use the toilet, so I hope they have a toilet so I can use the toilet. Excellent. That sign says there are toilets. Let's find them. This cafe is actually a lot busier than the other one. It's about 2 p.m. now, so I guess people are getting an afternoon coffee at this cafe here in the gardens. Maybe you can hear a lot of bird sounds. There are a few birds around, some cockatoos, some bin chickens, or an ibis. There's a lot of animals just hanging out here as well. But yeah, this cafe, really busy right now. So maybe it has good coffee and food. But I've already eaten, so I'm gonna head down over this way and see if we can have a view of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House. Let's go. That white bird right there, that's what we call a bin chicken. Why do we call it a bin chicken? Because they go into bins and eat food and steal food from bins. So we call them bin chickens. The real name, I believe, is an ibis or some kind of ibis, but they are everywhere in Sydney and they get into the trash or into the bins and just throw the trash all over the place. so we call them bin chickens. There's another really interesting tree that's so tall. Some parts of it are very bushy, but some parts of it are completely bare or completely naked. There are so many interesting trees and plants, so obviously I cannot show you all of them in this video, but if I see something very interesting, I'll show you. I decided to keep my thin jacket on because the sun goes behind some clouds and then it feels cold. But when the sun comes out from behind the clouds, it feels hot again. For now, I will just leave it on. If you look very closely, you can start to see a view of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House behind me, but we can't see it very well. So to get a better view, I'm going to walk around the harbour. I will follow this footpath around the harbour to get a better view. So let's walk around the harbour and follow the footpath. There is a much better view of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House from here. But if we keep walking over this way and maybe go up a little bit, we will get an even better view. But look at that, across the harbour is the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House. What a beautiful view. I've now walked further around the harbour. Unfortunately, there are some trees blocking the view, so I can't see the Sydney Harbour Bridge from right here. But I think if I walk further up, I will be able to see it. Now, up this way, the area is called the Domain. It's called the Domain. We're not in the Botanic Garden anymore. That's over there. The Royal Botanic Garden is over there. This area is called the Domain. And maybe we can see a bit of the bridge, but I will try to find a better view. And there's a few cool things to see over this way. So let's continue walking and exploring the Domain. This is a great lookout point right here. You can walk on this platform and we can see the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House here in Sydney. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. This is such a fantastic view, and you get to walk here, walking through the beautiful gardens. You can enjoy a coffee at a cafe, you can relax on the grass and eat some lunch, and there's no entry fee, you don't pay anything. So I highly recommend visiting the Sydney Royal Botanic Garden, and here at the end where it's called the Domain. This is where the best view is here, the Domain. Specifically, this area is called Mrs. Macquarie's Point. Mrs. Macquarie's Point. It's very easy to find. You just follow the path that I was walking on and go around the harbour. It's easy, but otherwise just look for signs that say Mrs. Macquarie's Point. Beautiful view, some beautiful bin chickens looking for dinner in the grass. If you walk here, right at the end is a famous tourist spot as well, where you can sit on the chair here, the stone chair or the stone steps. A lot of tourists like to take a photo right here. If you do come here, make sure you get a nice photo over here at this sign, these stone steps. Check out the beautiful bridge views, lots of beautiful photos you can take over there as well. And actually, as a little bonus, on that side of the harbor, the other side is a Navy base. And right now there are some big Navy ships over there. There's another really cool tree. The trunk of the tree at the bottom splits out into several trunks, and it's so tall. That's one tree. I have had a lovely walk through the park. Even as a local here in Sydney, it's such a nice spot that I come back to a lot. There's something special about places that are in the middle of a CBD. A CBD means Central Business District. Usually people in the city are very busy. It moves very fast. You go to work, there's a lot of stress. But when you come to the Botanic Gardens, it's very peaceful, very tranquil. Things slow down. You can enjoy nature. You can get lost in your thoughts. You can enjoy the weather, breathe the clean air. Wow, check out these flowers, all different colors. We have kind of an orange, pinkish color, more orange. Then we have yellow, then purple, then back to orange. So nice seeing them all side by side. They're all side by side. All the different colors are side by side. Near the entrance of the Botanic Gardens, this giant tree is actually one of my favorites so far. The reason is it's one of the only trees that has autumn leaves. That's right. Right now in Australia is autumn. Very soon it's winter. Right now it's the end of May. But I love autumn leaves, and many trees in Sydney are just green the whole time. So it doesn't feel like autumn. But this tree right here and all these leaves that have fallen on the ground are absolutely beautiful. So this one might be my favorite today. Now that I'm back at the front of the Botanic Garden, that ends my walk for today. In this video, you got to explore the Botanic Garden, see some really cool trees, learn about a popular tourist destination that's free to visit, and see Sydney's most famous landmarks, the Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I'm curious, what's a famous landmark in your city or your country? Let me know in the comments. Check out my channel for more English comprehensible input videos just like this one. Of course, make sure to like and subscribe to improve your English and explore Australia.